and taking place in celebrating the incredible life that Kennan gave to us and the time that we could share with them, with each one of you, and the memories that he blessed us with. We just also want to take a moment just to ask everyone if you could either put your phones on silent or whatever you need to do in that direction. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I'm going to welcome our dear friend, incredible person, and Karen Bacon. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to have you here. Looks like a full house. We're going to open with a prayer. So if you'll bow your heads in prayer. Mother, Father, God, source of all being, loving creator of all that is, be with us here, now, in this precious moment, as we gather heart to bid farewell to your child, Kennan, beloved son, brother, nephew, cousin, and friend. Hold us in your tender and loving arms as we grieve our painful loss. Kennan was so young and his death so unexpected. Our hearts have been broken and we weep. But in this time together, fill us also with our happy memories, and in gratitude, celebrate the precious time we had together. Sorrow and joy, these are the dark and light strands that make up the tapestry of our lives. Support and guide us as we attempt to weave them together into a whole that is both meaningful and beautiful. The time is now, and we are ready. And now I have the honor to read Mia's sermon. So if I stumble over the words, it's because I didn't write them, but I will do my best to share her thoughts and feelings with you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. All of us are here because of two things: tragedy and love. I'm sure we are all experiencing a lot of different feelings because of the tragedy part: sadness, confusion, disorientation, and fear. The other reason we're here is because of love. Kennan loved you. You loved Kennan. And even if you didn't personally know my son, you are here supporting me and my family because love is guiding you. This is a strange paradox to sit with: tragedy and love. Between the two, I know from experience that love has the unending stamina to carry us through. Tragedy will lose strength, tucker out, and give up. I feel comforted by the Albert Einstein quotation: there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. I like viewing everything as a miracle because it's helpful and a hopeful way to consider going through life. Another great quotation that is a regular reminder for me is from Tony Robbins: life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Now, how on earth can we consider that everything is a miracle and happening for us? Maybe that makes sense during easy and enjoyable times, but what about right now with this situation we are all touched by? That is a journey we are all on. I remember when I was seeing a counselor on a regular basis, and I've done this at different times in my life, that I'd shared about the many difficulties I was experiencing that seemed overwhelming for me. None of it made sense. It sure as heck wasn't fair, and it seemed all-consuming. How was I to navigate such negativity, harm, unbearable weight? My beautiful, loving therapist said with utter confidence something like this: "You know, Mia, you have experienced so much crap in your life that you are going to turn it all into rich, nutrient-dense fertilizer to fuel your next amazing chapters in life." She said that with a huge smile, and her way of delivering this idea left me feeling hopeful. Yes, I thought, I know God is love, and it must be true that everything is working for me to grow, to learn, to become the best version of myself. And this allows me to be my best for others. I have confidence that over time this tragedy will be transformed into life-giving fertilizer. Eventually, the mountain of pain will, like compost, break down and be transformed into such rich fertilizer that has the potential to fuel limitless expressions of positivity. For me, a helpful and effective place to start that magical process is with self-compassion. Even though it would be easy to go down the rabbit hole of blame, anger, and what-ifs, an approach that only leads to a fear-driven mindset which manifests in decline, I'd rather choose a mindset centered on love. Concretely, an action I can take in the direction of love is self-compassion, which presses a pause button, creates space to breathe, finds a neutral place that is neither good nor bad, and just be. From this place I find peace and the room within me to allow what is, instead of fighting it and wanting what isn't. Fighting what I don't like leads to a shutdown in me. Allowing and accepting leads me to feel openness and expanse within myself. This open space promotes clarity and new ways of perceiving that can bring hope. As Albert Einstein wrote, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. I love this. It makes so much sense. For me, self-compassion naturally translates into compassion for others. That pause button that we all need to take a step back from the pace of our daily lives allows us to shift from the mindset that creates problems to a mindset that positively and creatively looks for solutions. Compassion for ourselves and one another frees us from the very human tendency to be stuck in shame. Shame is like a rock around our necks wanting to keep us down and incapacitated by fear. It acts as a block to growth and transformation. Compassion, though, allows us to talk to our shame and say, "Hey, I understand that you are trying to help me right now. I know you think you are helping me to survive and fight to live another day, but there's nothing to fight here. Relax and rest. You're not in danger now. You can take it easy because compassion, beauty, and creativity have stepped up, and we're all going to be okay." For me, I like to be gentle with shame. I don't want to beat it over the head. I just gently let it settle down and get calm, knowing that it's all going to be okay. along the lines of knowing that everything is going to be okay, reminds me of another quotation that carries me through lots of tough times, and it's this: I know everything is going to be okay. In fact, I'm already okay. It just doesn't feel like it right now. Who am I quoting here? I'm quoting myself. This phrase is a regular mantra for me. When I find myself thinking and feeling from a place of fear, I'm afraid to make any moves because I think it might be wrong. Of course, nothing improves from this place. But when I use my God-given imagination to know that everything is already okay, I've got a whole buffet of positive, helpful, and hopeful options to choose from. I'm choosing from a place of love and safety. The limitless creativity that comes from this mindset opens up endless potential for beauty, connection, and solutions. So grief is a personal thing, and each one of us will navigate it uniquely. I invite you to join me in considering allowing compassion and love to transform. I know I myself am being transformed through this whole experience. I trust that Kennan is being transformed through this experience, and in the future, I'll be joyfully hanging with him again. In whatever way we allow, each of us has an opportunity to be transformed through all of this. Suppressing or circumventing aren't options. Experiencing it all is the way through. We are very powerful as individuals and as a community to not only get through this, but we have what it takes to thrive through this and come out on the other side stronger in our love towards ourselves and each other. I think a great way to honor Kennan and ourselves is to continue on our journeys with courage, to become the best versions of ourselves and the best community we can imagine. Thank you all for your love and support. All of those expressions from you are miracles. And now, we are going to have people sharing their experiences with Kennan. And we'll begin with Tim.
I don't do a lot of public speaking, so we'll see how this goes. First of all, I want to really thank everyone here once again for coming and being a part of this celebration of life for Kennan, and be a part of really sharing and understanding more about him by hearing everybody else's stories and getting a bigger picture of who he was. So first, I want to share a little bit about, got my pages mixed up. First story I want to share about Kennan is when Kennan was about 3 years old. So for Christmas, just before he was 3 years old, we got Kennan this rocking horse for Christmas. And actually, with Timothy and Heidi here, we had one of their CDs that they sent us from Wyerton Christmas playing in the background. And a couple of the songs on that CD there had some little bit of an upbeat rock type rhythm to them. And so true to Kennan's character, right from the day he was born pretty much, he just wants to go out there and take things to the fullest limit. So he has this upbeat rock Christmas songs going on, going with the higher upbeat tempo. He jumps on the rocking horse that we got him, and he just doesn't sit on it like anyone else would. he's got to stand up on top of the seat, grab a hold of those handlebars, and he starts rocking as fast as he can. And he just starts, Mia and I just start cracking up. And the more he's rocking, the harder we're laughing. The more we laugh, the faster he rocks. It's like it's rocking 1,000 miles an hour. It's just going nuts. It's always an entertainer right from the beginning. A little later, Kennan was about 15 years old. We had bought the boys, Jonah and Kennan, these little motorcycles, and we used to take them out to the hunting camp, that we were a part of for a while, and they would ride the bikes all over in the hunting camp. And one day we were out there, and we had a little bit of trouble with Jonah's bike at the moment, so Jonah and I were at the lodge at the hunt camp checking his bike out, and Kennan asked, "Hey, sorry if I just go for a little ride and come back?" And I said, "Yeah, that's fine." So while Jonah and I are checking his bike out, we see Kennan pushing his bike back, and he's holding the handlebars like this. As he's getting closer, we can see to be able to keep the wheel going straight. So, I said, "Oh no!" And Jonah's like, "Hey, there's something wrong with Kennan's bike." And so we go and meet up with Kennan and say, "Hey, you okay? You didn't get hurt or anything? Or you all right?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm okay. This motorcycle's wrecked though." So well, what happened? I said, "Well, I saw this thing on YouTube," and I was like, "Oh." So yeah, Kennan's always checking things out on YouTube, and whether it be the latest skateboard trick, BMX trick, jump, parkour, or motorcycle trick, he had to go and try it out. So he says, "Yeah, saw this thing on YouTube, and I just had to try it out, and lost control, and the bike went into the tree." So it's like, smashed the front forks in and everything. But yeah, it's again like Kennan's, take everything to the fullest. The next story I want to share, I don't have too many, but I got a lot, but only a few tonight. Was about Kennan's character of how he loved to fix things, build things, explore how things worked. And he's always trying to figure things out like that. And whether it would be like if I'm just doing something around the house, painting the wall, or doing building a shelf, or doing something out in the yard work, or working on a van that we had at the time or whatever. He'd always just grab a screwdriver, a hammer, or whatever we got, a wrench, and he just wanted to get involved, to be a part of that. And he just, right from early on, a little later, when he was about 11 years old, I had an electrical business, K&J Electric. It was for Kennan and Jonah. Ran it for a little while, and one time he wanted to come, he always wanted to join in, and so one day Mia and I talked and decided, we'll let him come with me. I was working on this one house, rewiring it and stuff, and so we decided, well, Mia will come and drop him off after I get started, because I get started earlier in the morning, and Mia would dropped him off, and then she said, "Well, I'll be back in a couple hours, see how he's doing." We figured, he'd get tired of that after a while, he wanted to just go play or whatever. And so Mia comes back after a couple hours, and it was like lunchtime, and Kennan's like, no, I want to stay, I want to keep working with Dad. And so, all right, well, Mia said, well, I'll stop back in a couple more hours. And she comes back, and no, I want to stay with Dad, I want to keep working with Dad. So I'm pulling wires through studs and whatever else. And so then I end up working like a 12-hour day, and Kennan just, he stayed with Dad all day. So, yeah. And then later on, we started doing some work with Habitat for Humanity on some of these home building projects. And it was something Ken and I did together. And you'd, be building a new header above a door, or painting a wall, or putting up drywall in another area, or just always involved with wanting to do stuff. And as those who've worked with him, been a part of his life later on, you probably saw that in some of the things he did around things that you saw. And he took that same work ethic into, as he moved on and did things to start earning an income and whatnot. And at one point, a few years later, he ended up getting this job that took him out to Las Vegas, and they were doing there's some of the pictures you might have seen him up on these beams and putting these steel buildings together and stuff. And there's one particular job the company was working for. Unfortunately, the company didn't really take care of him so well. They didn't really pay him very great. Las Vegas is expensive, and they were paying just a little over $10 an hour and paying for half his motel room. But this job was not going well. A lot of the materials that came on the job, like some of the beams, the holes were in the wrong spots. They had to drill them out and basically get things to work. Some of the siding, as they started cheating the building, were not right. They weren't fitting right, so they started refabbing things and making things work, getting new steel. And at one point, the job was going so bad that the guy who was leading the job just bails. He ends up just quitting and leaving. And a bunch of the other guys all left, and Kennan's like, well, I'm not leaving. He said, I'm going to stick this thing through. And he ended up talking to the owner of the building that's being built, that he hired this company to build for him, and talked to the owner of the company, and he just took on the lead position of that job and got a couple more guys to work together with him, and he finished the job off. And the other thing that goes to share about Kennan's heart too in that area is, like I said, he really wasn't getting paid very well. And I was talking to him on the phone one night, and he said, well, I got to get going. I got to go buy a couple cases of water for the guys at work. And I told him, well, I hope you're using company money to do that. And he said, no, company's not. They're not paying. They won't pay for it. I said, well, that's legally they're supposed to. And he said, well, I got to do what I got to do. He says, it's hot outside. We're working out in the sun. The guy's got to have water to drink. So he went and bought, this water out of his own pocket, and he's already barely getting by with what he's making there. But that's the way he was. People he was around, he loved, and he took care of them. He'd do anything for the people he knew and the people he's around. So just one last story. Kennan was about 18 weeks old.
18 months.
18 months, sorry. 18 months old. Yeah, a little bit different. So he's about 18 months old, and we had to get a new dishwasher for our house. So we bought this new dishwasher, and they come in a big box, right? And so we took the box, and we decided, well, let's make it like a little playhouse for him. And so we cut a hole in the side that he could hinge open like a door, and cut a window in it that he could open and close. And at this age, like a lot of kids, he liked picking his nose. And so one thing, every time he did that, Mia and I would say, hey, Kevin, let's not pick your nose, buddy. Let's use a tissue. So he figured out, when I want to pick my nose, you just go inside the house, close the window, close the door, come back up and go back to doing whatever he wanted to do. And so I got my own little private place here I can go pick my nose at. So there are many incredible stories about Kennan, and these are all I'm going to share at this point, and other people will share a few other stories. So I just want to, again, thank you so much for coming out here, for just being a part of all that you guys have done as being a part of his life and sharing the different moments that you had and with him. And I know he thought a lot of everyone that he had contact with. So yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Mike Schultz.
Hello, my name is Mike Schultz. I probably knew Kennan the least of anyone here. I met him 6 weeks ago. So the story goes, in our brief time together, our family has a construction company in the area, and over a weekend, one of our employees, who is here today as well, Chad Euchre, and Chad had met Kennan on a roofing project on a weekend to help out a mutual friend. So Chad was with Kennan, and Chad came back to work on Monday, and he said, hey, I met this great worker over the weekend, young, real go-getter, and he kept up with me. And you may not know Chad, but Chad's work ethic is second to none. So when he said that about Kennan, I said, I gotta meet this guy. So about 3 days later, actually with some small texting and whatnot with Kennan, he came over to our company on I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday, and this is in October. So we sat down and maybe, oh goodness, probably half an hour. Well, that's probably a lot, isn't it? You can't sit down for half an hour, I don't think. So it may have been 15 minutes. But he's, you could tell right away. One of the things I remember the most, though, was when he came into our office, was his handshake. And very sincere and genuine. And he thought he was going to break my hand, but I'm a lot smaller than he was. So, but at the same time, I could tell right away he was going to be a good fit for us. So we hired Kennan, and then the following Monday he started with us, and it was right around the first part of November, maybe the last week of October or so, and so he helped us with roofing. So next time you're driving down Chisholm, he helped us with the Alpena Circuit Court, which is the main courthouse on Chisholm Street. So he helped on that project, and everybody loved him. Our employees, they could tell right away he was a great guy, a great work ethic. He learned fast, and we'll miss him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Isabel McKay.
Okay, so I don't speak in front of a lot of people very often. So Ken was my best friend. I didn't know him for very long, but the time I did know him, it was only a month. It only took us like a month for us to fall for each other. He just had a way of he made everyone around him just light up inside and out. He was always so strong, and the time I did get to know him, I knew he was never somebody I wanted to lose. He was kind, he was respectful, he always opened the door for me. I remember the first night we met, and we played this Giant Connect 4 game, and he made me smile and laugh the whole time. He always knew how to have fun, and we would dance in my living room when he would come over, and we'd play darts. And I remember he said he didn't know how to play, and then he got 2 bullseyes right away. He was always competitive when we played games, and it made it that much more fun. I'll always remember our first date at Mango's, and our rides singing in the car, and our long walks, and I'll always cherish every memory we've had together. Ken definitely brought out a more outgoing and fun side out of me. He would always put others first, and he would always tell me he would be there for me whenever I needed anything, and I'll miss him forever.
slogan.
So I got something that I wrote. I don't know if I'm gonna make it all the way through it, but here it goes. Ken was family to me since the day we met so very long ago. I met Ken when I was about 12 years old. And as time went on, I grew to have an inner obligation to just be there and keep him close. Because I just knew that the genuine kindness and generosity that he possessed is something that's rare in his life. When either of us, me or him, would be struggling or having any type of hard time, I knew that I could always count on him to be there too. Same way I was for him. And that is just something that when those times get tough in life, you know, a lot of people disappear. And I didn't worry about that. I knew he was gonna be there. I didn't question it. I didn't wonder. I never understood why Kevin was always so happy, even when he was having the worst times of his existence. When he was making the most of his predicament, pushing forward, and it honestly made me proud and honored that I was given the opportunity to witness the way Ken lived on his own terms, constantly seeking the positive energy of any and every situation, including the worst times of his life. I mean, I remember a lot of times he'd be looking for a job, or he wouldn't have money to eat or something, and somebody'd be passing by and he could help in any type of way, whether it was his last 2 cents or a shirt off his back. It's just how he was. He didn't hesitate. I'm pretty well at a loss for words on how I feel about losing someone that I know was one of a kind, and a piece of me is gone forever. It really is. I remember sitting there in the hospital with Ken's dad. I told him, you know, I want to say something that's gonna make it better, and there's nothing I could. But in his own way, he did that himself. He's helping all these people in their lives. You know, most people, as an organ donor, they affect up to 8. He affects up to 80. He wouldn't want it any other way than that. He wouldn't. That's just the kind of person he was. You know, and earlier this year, when he returned from Las Vegas, I just had a newborn son, and he met him, and he was stuck to him like glue, right? The minute he seen him, put a hat on, taking pictures. He ain't even 5 days old. I had sunglasses, everything. And it was just something that you wouldn't expect him to be any different, you know? It was something that only he could make it in that situation. And I'm just so happy that he gets to, even through his passing, affect all these people in such a happy way. And I was proud to know him, and it's not goodbye. See you later. You're my flying angel, and I love you.
Now we'll pause between the sharings and have Mia and her son come up and do music, sing.
You know, we never did have a sound check here. So Pam, would you do us a favor and see if the piano and the voice are balanced out in the back?
I'll be happy
Thanks.
to.
Oh, you're ready. Okay, can you play just a little bit, Jonah, and then she can check just play like a few bars or something. Da 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 da. Is that a pretty good balance?
I hear more piano.
Hear more piano. Da da dee 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 dee. Okay, cool.
Mia, I don't know if they can turn down the mic. The mic, you have a very loud voice. It might be-
Yeah, I think I'm going to hold it down
Great,
because
great.
it's controlled elsewhere, but that's a great idea, Dana. My clever sister Dana. She's a very solution-oriented person. Okay, so I asked Jonah if he wanted to introduce this song, and he preferred that I introduce it. So this is a song that Jonah wrote when he was about 14. And it is just a song that came out of him about his family, and I thought it very fitting to share with you today. I think maybe put the piano up a little bit more.
Yeah, more piano.
More cowbell. All right.
Still more.
More piano. I think more. More.
All right. Back up to where it was.
Keep
Yeah.
going.
Beyond.
Keep going. All right, let's do this.
All right. Third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah.
Nerves. Dear mother, you give me your love, never ending, unconditional. You fill up my glass till it's full. Oh, sometimes I take it for granted. All the times you've sacrificed and made me quit. You know that I love you. Sometimes I wonder if I'm good enough. And you know that I try to work harder every day to build trust. I know I'm not perfect, but I try to be the best I can be. Dear Father, you are my foundation. You give me all of your support. The list of things you do is not short, and though sometimes I take it for granted, all the thoughts of doubt I had you undid. You know that I love you. Sometimes I wonder if I'm good enough. And you know that I try to work harder every day to build trust. I know I'm not perfect, but I try to be the best I can be. Dear brother, you've got my back through thick and through thin every time. Despite all our fights, you were kind. Though sometimes I don't always thank you. All the times you held me when I was blue. You know that I love you. Sometimes I wonder if I'm good enough. And you know that I try to work harder every day to build trust. I know I'm not perfect, but I try to be the best I can be. Thank you, Jonah.
Thank you.
So we're going to switch out piano players. Thank you, Jonah. And then my dear friend Pam is going to come up to help with the next one. And before we get started on that, I just wanted to share a little bit about what my experience was in the ER and the ICU. Kennan was in the ER for 1 day, and then he was in the ICU for 5. And I don't know if this is going to sound strange. I've never been in that situation before. But for some reason, it just really reminded me of when Kennan was born. A lot of it felt really similar, and being back in the hospital, and I just had all these images flying back to me to like being pregnant and being in labor and birthing him, and then, you know, the whole thing of him being this little newborn and taking care of him and his little body. And I said to Tim and the nurses in the ICU, I said, I feel like I'm helping birth Kennan into this next stage of his life over these next 5 days. Like, either he's going to be able to breathe on his own and maybe have some brain damage, or his body will not be able to make it, and then he will be birthed for eternity into spirit world. So we had some very beautiful experiences. Tim, Jonah, and I, every single day at the hospital. It's interesting, if you've ever been in an ICU room, first of all, the staff is really amazing. It's very serene. It's very peaceful. They're very loving and they're very sensitive. It really is like the maternity part of the hospital. It's very similar. So it was very beautiful, us taking turns, like holding Kennan's hand, touching his shoulder, resting our hands on his chest, caressing his hair, talking with him, crying, laughing. Tim and I had a chance to use some soft cloths with warm water to take care of Kennan's body and to clean his body, and then to put on some beautiful coconut oil on him and use essential oils. And it felt like taking care of his body when he was a newborn. And I just wanted to say that I've never been through this experience before, and I didn't really know what it's going to be like. And we've just been experiencing life as it's been coming at us. And it felt to me, what a privilege that I could be with Kennan from the moment of conception until the moment when the doctor said, okay, his brain can't take it anymore. We're just going to keep him on a ventilator until he could generously donate his organs, and it just felt like a massive privilege to be through that whole process, and we didn't want to hide our heads in the sand. We wanted to experience it all and be thorough in that, just like we did with being in labor and birthing him, and late nights and nursing and changing diapers and all that good stuff. Okay, so that was my little sharing. And so next I'm going to do this song with Pam. I personally think this song is a parent's anthem, and it's a very difficult song to do, so if I mess up, I know you'll be really gracious with me. All right, let's give it a try. Today's a day like any other, though I'm changed, I am a mother all in an instant. And who I was has disappeared, it doesn't matter, now you're here, so innocent. I was lost for you to find, now I'm yours and you're mine. Two tiny hands, a pair of eyes, an unsung melody is mine for safekeeping, and I will guard it with my life. I hang the moon for it to shine on him sleeping, starting here and starting now. I can feel the heart of how everything changes. Can we slow it down a little bit? Where are we going from? Can we just take it from here a little bit slower? Thanks. Sorry, did I miss my beat? Should I just come in? Okay, thanks, y'all. I didn't know, but now I see. Sometimes what is meant to be. You save me. My blurry lines, my messy life come into focus and in time. Maybe I can heal and I can breathe, 'cause I can feel myself believe that everything changes when my heart's at the wheel now. And all my mistakes, they make sense when I turn them around. Everything changes. What I thought was so permanent fades. In the blink of an eye, there's a new life in front of my face. And I know in due time every right thing will find its right place. So I swear I remember to say we were both born today, 'cause everything changed. Everything changes. Thank you. Thank you for your graciousness. Thank you, Pam. So, this is a big change, and I believe we all have what it takes to thrive through this. Thank you, Karen.
Okay. Next, we'll have Jonah.
Well, again, I just want to thank everybody for coming. It really means a lot to all of us, all the support we've been getting, and all the messages and everything, and posts on Facebook, and all that's just really nice to see that a lot of people cared about him, and he cared about a lot of people. So, thank you. I've always looked up to my brother quite a bit, and you know, he always led the way through example, and I, especially growing up with him, I just always remember I wanted to be exactly like him. And, I remember we used to play out in the backyard all the time, and you know, I'm sure a lot of kids did this. We would just pick up sticks and play sword fight and everything. And I remember I'm so grateful that he was very patient with me, because he would, you know, he'd go easy on me, but every once in a while he'd get me in the finger. And sometimes I was pretty young, of course, he's 5 years older than me, and I remember sometimes I'd cry and get mad at him, and he was always really gracious with me, and you know, he had a big heart, and he was really good with that. We'd always have all these games in the backyard. Like, my dad built this big tree fort for us in the backyard. It had a pulley for bringing stuff out through the window, and zip line and everything. And so we'd always be playing on that, on the swing set. And there's this one memory I specifically remember. So my dad built a cement slab in the backyard. It's probably, what, like 50 foot by 50 foot?
Not quite that big.
All right.
A little bit smaller.
A little bit smaller. But, so of course, you put the clear coat on top of the cement when it's done.
Seal it.
Yeah, to seal it. And me and my brother, we would just ride in circles on our bikes on it all day. And we'd have like these Star Wars capes, and we'd have lightsabers and everything, and we'd just be, you know, goofing around, just riding in circles. I don't know why, but it was super entertaining to us. And I remember one day, my brother was like, "Hey, you think if we ride in the same spot in the circle for eventually, we'll wear the clear coat down, right?" And so that was our mission. That's why we kept riding in circles. Our mission was to wear down the ceiling. We thought it would be a cool idea. And yeah, just tons of shenanigans. We'd set up a wooden ramp up onto the slab to do little hops, jumps on the bike. Lots of fun memories. What's another story I had? Oh, I remember, so my grandpa, he had a restaurant, my dad's dad, and he would let us eat there for free sometimes. And so I remember one day we went to his restaurant and we got a bunch of food and we just loaded up these to-go boxes. And we brought them in our backpacks. We had our backpacks stuffed to the brim. And I mean, my grandpa was cool with it. He was fine. And so we brought them back home, and we didn't want to tell my mom because, well, God forbid, no, we'd never be able to eat it. So we hid them, I think, like under our beds or something. Then the next morning for breakfast, we had a whole bunch of dessert and everything, but they were in styrofoam boxes. And so we woke up early before my mom did, and we were being super careful opening the styrofoam boxes because they like squeak and everything. And we're like, shh. And like my heart was pumping. I was like, oh my God, my mom walks in here. Oh man, we're so screwed. So all kinds of shenanigans. I remember. We used to go on bike rides. The first time that my mom let us leave the house without him to go bike riding through town. And I believe we went to Norrie Ridge. I don't know if any of you guys know where that is, in the woods. And that was a fun bike ride. And I remember he was leading the way. And again, just another tribute to how good of a supportive brother he was. He was always, you know, like teaching me how to ride the trails because I'd never really ridden trails very much before, and he was, you know, leading the way and showing me how to ride safely and everything. So I think that's about all I got for now.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, John. Next, we have Thane Witzel.
First of all, I want to say that Mia asked me to dress colorful, so I obliged. Unlike most of us gathered here today, I never knew Jonah. I never met him, but I do call his parents friends. And the day I heard of his passing, I started to grieve a little bit for them and with them, and really for everybody here. You know, none of us who are parents should suffer the loss of a child. So, I grieve in a way where I have to write some things down. So, I'm going to share this with you. I shared it with Mia shortly after I wrote it, and she asked if I would be kind enough to spill my guts, so to speak. Before I get into that, though, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who enlightened me about his spirit a little bit, because like I said, I never met him. The courage it took for you to stand up here, and you and everybody, it's not easy. Thank you. I titled this, I Never Hugged Him. I never really knew him, but I know them. He and I never spoke of life or laughter or the smell of spring. We never shared a smile or a hug or a vintage. But you see, in some small way, we are all family. The tiny plastic spoon had turned silver, and I cried. I never knew him, yet today he and I conversed, for you see, I know them. And in my heart of hearts, I believe in love. It's the flame that lights the darkness when the sun has fallen asleep. So hold fast to the memories and reach out, if you will. I never hugged him, but I've hugged you, and sometimes it's the greatest gift we can give.
Thank you, Thane. Next, we'll have Alicia and Brandon Hall.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Kennan a few months ago. He's known my husband for a really long time, but I had the pleasure of meeting Kennan a few months ago. And I knew I was gonna love him right off the bat because Brandon video chatted him before I had met him in person. And he said, "This is my new girlfriend, Alicia." And Kennan said, "She's beautiful." And I was like, "Hey." He was so sweet and always so respectful and so kind and just always loving. So I have a couple funny stories, and then I'm gonna go sit down because he has a good presentation for Kennan. Kennan started coming over to our house, and he started showering in our shower, and I think it was because he loved that we had 2 shower heads. And I started noticing my rose body wash that had little beads was going down further and further and further. My kids know not to touch it, right? And I'm the only one that uses it. So one day he came out, and I'm like, "Ken, you smell really good." And he's like, "I love that pink body wash." And I said to him, "I'm telling everyone. I just want you to know, I'm gonna tell everybody." And another quick story. I had made breakfast dinner one day. My kids love breakfast dinner. And I use Bob Evans sausage, and I made a breakfast sandwich, one for Brandon and then another one for him. He doesn't ever eat what I cook, but Ken was like, "I'm hungry" when he came over. And I said, "Well, there's breakfast sandwiches in the microwave if you want some." So he went in there and he grabbed one. He took a bite, walked into the room with Brandon. It was about 15, 20 minutes later I went in there, and he still had the sandwich in his hand with one bite out of it. He put it on the plate, and he's like, "Hey, I don't want any more, but thank you." And I was like, "Oh, no problem." And then the next time he came over, I was making sausage and gravy with the same sausage. and well, not the same sausage, but Bob Evans. And he said he wanted some, so I made him a plate, and he took a bite, and he said, Alicia, can I tell you something? And I said, yeah. He said, I hate your sausage. The next time he came over, I was making chicken nuggets and french fries for my kids, and I have 6, so whatever's easiest when I get home from work, they get. And he came over and he said, no, I can eat that. And he did. So, anyways, he was very respectful. He always tried to help me clean up. He always reminded my kids to thank me. Our daughter Aubrey was very sketchy of anybody, but she stuck to Ken right away. And we will miss him a lot. So.
Hey guys. So mine's a little different. It's got a couple different parts. I want to thank Tim and Mia for allowing me to do this. This awesome slideshow too they let me create. So I'm going to do a little bit of talking, and then I have a presentation after to coincide with it. Before I start, sitting here listening, it's interesting because a lot of the key things that I wrote and I'm going to be saying, others that have spoke tonight have said the same things. Like Logan said, Ken will give you the shirt off his back. That's one of the things I said. I just noticed a lot of similarities with things that people said that really kind of reaffirm who he was as a person, a good person, you know what I mean? Also bear with me because I'm going to try my best to get through all this. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. But let's get into it. My name is Brandon. Most people call me B. I'm here today to speak about my best friend Ken. Others even know him as Kennan, and I've even heard some people call him Keenan. Ken and I were best friends along with some other amazing people in our friend group such as Travis and Logan. The 4 of us became brothers and developed lifelong bonds for one another. As for Ken was so many things to so many people. Obviously this affects all of us differently. No matter how much you knew him, he still made a mark on everybody, a little bit, a lot. He was so many things to so many people, an extremely loyal and grounded person. He would be there at the drop of a hat for you, and he would help you with anything he could. He was always down for anything, and his laugh was infectious. I first met Ken about 7 years ago at a bonfire party, a large group of us just being in our late teens and early 20s enjoying life. From the first day I met Ken, I knew he was a good person. I consider myself a kind of a savant at reading people's vibes, and I could tell right away that Ken was a good person. You could tell deep inside Ken was a loving, loyal, caring person and extremely respectful, especially to those that, respected him back. I never seen Ken angry nor hateful to really anyone. Granted, everyone can have a bad day or even a mortal enemy. I think Ken might have had 1 or 2, but he took it easy on him. Ken always just kind of went with the flow of things. I remember one day my wife randomly decided she wanted to rearrange the house, kind of, how women often do, just out of nowhere. Ken jumped right up and he offered his assistance with whatever needed to be done. No prompting, no asking.
You didn't.
Yeah. He was always just down for whatever, and to me, that's who Ken truly was, a giving person that deeply loved and cared for those he called his brothers and his family. Ken would truly give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. He would even go to the pits of Hades himself with you if that was something you needed help with. I got to experience the pleasure and joy of being one of Ken's absolute best friends. We even lived together at different points in life, and those are some of the greatest memories I will always have. Typical roommates may fight, bicker, and even not like each other. With Ken and I, it was never that experience. We never experienced that type of negativity, anything. It was always an adventure, always a good time, and we always had great laughs. My children are, especially my youngest, Aubrey, she's they're extremely wary of new people. They just don't care for anybody new. But with Ken, when Ken came back from Vegas, because he hadn't met a couple of them yet, because they had just been born within the past year or two, they stuck right to him immediately, and he was Uncle Ken. They referred to him as Uncle Ken, and that was their Uncle Ken. It was their dear Uncle Ken. I know, like myself, he would have gave his life to protect them if ever need be, because he loved them just as I did. I remember another time Ken was over and we were sitting in the recording studio, as that was both of our favorite place to be. I have like a really high-end recording studio, and that's something you'll see in the presentation, like as far as what Ken loved to do. Ken found so much peace when he was in the studio with me. It was his absolute favorite place to be. It didn't matter if we were doing anything special. We could both just sit there, and he loved it. He would do it all day, every day. He just found so much peace there. And I'm glad I got to help provide that for him. You know, I feel like I gave him some stability when his life was rocky, you know what I mean? Like when he moved back and he was getting back on his feet and stuff. Ken really, truly loved recording. He absolutely loved music. He loved rapping. He loved recording. He loved capturing life on tape. I went to give him a hug goodbye one day as he was leaving, and he accidentally dropped his energy drink and it splashed all over my LED lights in the studio. Without hesitation though, Ken exclaimed he would replace them, he would pay for them, and he was so apologetic. And without fail, he followed through on that promise. He replaced the LED lights in the studio, and to this very moment, they burn bright. They actually look better now. To me, that's another example of what a genuine good person Ken was. He had integrity, principles, and believed in doing the right thing, especially for those he called his brothers and his family. Ken was extremely talented in so many areas. I swear there was nothing he couldn't do, there was nothing he couldn't build, and there was nothing he couldn't create. Ken was wild all around. He's just that type of friend that would just go climb a tree for no reason. During the presentation, I'll show you too, he climbed the sketchiest rock I ever seen when we were in Mackinac Island, you'll see. One of Ken's favorite things in the world, as I mentioned, was music. He absolutely loved it with every part of his being. He would spend hours in the studio just messing around, creating sounds and videos, mixing on the turntables, and just enjoying life. It brought him so much joy to record and transcribe his life into music. Even when Ken moved across the country, he would still call and keep up with me and all of his brothers. At times there may have been disagreements within the friend group, but no matter what, Ken never chose sides, and he stuck by you with true friendship and loyalty. Nothing ever got in the way. If you guys were bros, you were bros, to the end. I like to believe Ken is still watching and listening, and even now, he is here with us. I can see him smiling and laughing, sorry, and soaking up the endless love that we are all showing for him. And I know it makes him truly happy. I like to think of him sitting in here right now and like what he'd be doing with all of us talking about him. He'd probably just be like gushing, you know what I mean? I have found that even in situations like this, where life may end, it can also create new beginnings. And in this new beginning, I got to meet more of Ken's family. Even further, my wife, Alicia, and I have had the pleasure of spending some time with Ken's mother and father, Tim and Mia. We have had dinner with them on a few occasions. They are truly some of the sweetest and most kind people we have ever met. Trying to keep it together. They are truly some of the kindest and sweetest people that I have ever had the gift of meeting. They are also extremely strong and resilient, even in this somber time. Granted, we all wish Ken was still here. We must make the best of each situation we are given. Damn. I feel Ken would agree strongly with how much we have all come together and found one another. Ken had a personality and a soul that, in my opinion, was truly one of a kind. A once-in-a-lifetime type of experience to know someone like that. He truly was my best friend. I will always keep his memories alive and the good times we had. I can confidently say we all love you, Ken. We miss you greatly, and you will always be in our hearts. Damn, this is hard. Now I want to show you a couple things. Let me get a Kleenex. All right, so if you knew Ken, you knew that one of his favorite things was like to maybe flick off the camera and stuff like that. I did a lot of editing to clean up a lot of footage. It took a while, man. It took a while. Last night it took like 4.5 hours of rendering. It was I did a lot for you. So yeah, let me pull that up. So in this video, I really tried to capture.
I guess I'll say it again too. Thank you everyone for being here, and many people who even aren't here today have shared with us in many forms, and we're so grateful. And so I just want to say, for those who don't have a chance to stand in front of the mic tonight, over the years and also most recently, many people have shared stories with me about their interactions with Kennan, every time from when he was little, to a tween, to a teenager, to an adult. And I always get told the same thing, which makes a mother's heart feel good, like, oh, what a nice young man, so very polite, lovely to talk with, very helpful. And one of my friends recently was telling me a story she remembered about Kennan. We knew her from the gym, and we also knew her from dance class. And she was taking a computer class at the local library, and then she connected the dots and she realized, oh, the one teenager in that class was my son, Kennan. And she said, oh, he's so handsome. And she said he was the only non-adult in the class, and all the adults were really struggling to try to understand what they were supposed to be learning about computers. So Kennan caught on quickly, and without even being asked to, he just went around one by one to all the different adults and was helping them. And she said that's just the kind of kid he was. Okay, so I've got a story about Kennan when he's like, I don't know, how old is Kennan when you made that gadget board? Okay, so Tim's a handyman, and we wanted to try to give our kids something to play with so they wouldn't play with real live outlets and real live plugs. So Tim made this board that had like an unconnected like outlet with a plug and all these different kinds of locks and keys and a light switch. And so he loved playing with that thing. And then you played a game with him, and you decided that every time Kennan turned the light switch, you were going to change the light in the living room. And it was really fun to see Kennan at such a young age. He started to connect the dots. He's like, if I do this, the light changes in the living room. And you played that game with him for a while, and you could see the look on his face start to grow and grow. And he's like, he thought, I'm powerful, right? Look what I can do. So that was really fun. I'll always remember that story. And then along the lines of Kennan having this kind of mechanical mind, this mind like an engineer, when he was about 3, we were with some friends at an amusement park in a mall, and they were getting on this ride that's for little kids, airplanes. And all the kids get in their little airplanes and, you know, all strapped in, and then the ride starts. And they all like really think they're flying their planes, right? Not Kennan. He's not even trying to fly the plane. He is constantly looking over the side, checking out how it's connected to the other part of the ride. Like, how does this thing work? That's just like how his mind worked. That's why he was really into erector set and Lincoln Logs and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then along the lines, Brandon, where is Brandon? Of fearlessness. Kennan was in karate and gymnastics, and he was the only boy in gymnastics. And I'm trying to think of how old he was in gymnastics, like maybe 10. And he loved it. And the teacher just loved him. She says, this kid is fearless. So like he'd run like greased lightning, jump off the springboard, and fly over the pommel horse. Just like fearless, same in karate. But then he did something that the teacher wasn't too pleased about. So there was the Northern Lights, right? The high ceilings in Northern Lights and the Alpina complex or whatever it's called. So there was a rope that the kids were supposed to climb to get some upper body strength. And they could usually get like 2 hands up, and that's about it. So Kennan's climbing and climbing and climbing, and he was only supposed to go so far, but I think he didn't know. And he actually went all the way to the top, put his hands on the beams and dangled to let go of the rope. And the teacher's like, get on the rope right now. Please come down calmly. And she goes, we cannot let that happen again. Yeah, he's pretty daredevil. So, that was kind of hard to deal with as a mom. He loved climbing trees, and instead of walking from branch to branch, I was always saying, honey, it's fine, you can climb trees, but make sure you always have a hand on or a foot on and as you're moving around in the tree. And one day, I'm doing dishes, and I look out the window to make sure he's okay, and he's jumping from branch to branch like a flying squirrel. So he was a bit of a daredevil. I would have to have a little chat with him when he did things like that and explain the difference between adventure and danger. As a homeschooler, I homeschooled both my kids. Kennan just was always very curious, genuinely loved learning and discovering, and just had a really good time with that. I think just the way we did it just didn't feel like school. It didn't feel like a chore. Whenever he had friends over, you know this, right, Jonah? Kennan always included you, even though you were younger, right? And Kennan was very happy to share whatever he had, his toys, and any activity that was going on. He really took good care of his friends. And when chores needed to be done, he never complained. He just did them thoroughly. So lots of great stories from when he was little, but moving on to when Kennan was an adult and he lived in Nevada, he would FaceTime me for chats, ask for advice, request if I could send some recipes, and even take me with him for grocery shopping. He'd carry me on his phone and want help with his shopping. It was a really lovely experience. Here's a cute one when he was little. When Kennan was very young, like all kids, some words were hard to pronounce. So for him, he pronounced the word family, flamly. And our family is really big into snuggles and hugs, and we really enjoyed our group hugs. And of course, the kids like to be in the middle, right? And so Kennan would always go, let's have a family hug, family hug, family hug. So cute. I still remember that. Jonah already shared about what a great brother Kennan was. He was patient with Jonah when playing with train tracks, a game of Go Fish, building snow forts, basketball, etc. And Kennan would read to Jonah, helped him learn to ride a bike, showed him how to use tools, etc., etc. The list is endless. So anyway, we're here celebrating a whole life, and these stories just skim the surface of such a complex, loving, curious man. I could talk forever about Kennan, but I will leave you with one last story. So when Kennan was about 3 years old, he slept in a little toddler bed that was near mine and Tim's bed. And no matter what time I woke up or how quiet I was, he would always wake up at the same time as me. So there was no chance to get up earlier than him to get some stuff done before entering the busy day as a parent. So I just enjoy relaxing in bed a while before little Kennan woke up. Well, one morning as he started to stir, I watched him turn from his side onto his back, blink his eyes open a couple of times, and then with great enthusiasm, he shot his arms up above his head and shout, yay, I get to play. And I just thought, that is how I remember my son, you know? This is like truly the kind of spirit that he has. Anyway, thank you for listening to all these stories. Yes, dear.
Travis wanted to say something. Maybe it's-
Sure, Travis, you want to say something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, come on up, bud. And then after Travis, I think we're going to be closing shortly, yes? Very good.
This has been something that's very hard for me to do. Last minute I decided I probably should say a few words. Ken was my best friend. At a point in my life when I was at my lowest, I was looking at 10 years in prison. Most of my friends abandoned me. I didn't hear from a lot of my family. You sit in that room, you feel alone. After about 2 months there, I got a visit from Ken. He gave me his phone number. And after that day, every single day, until the day I was released from jail, he spoke to me. And then about 2 weeks after I got out of jail, he made a trip from wherever he was from to come see me. And all the way up till the end, he'd always told me how much he believed in me and how I could do something with my life. And it's rare to have someone like that in your life, And I miss him every day. And I'm glad he was a part of my life. That's about all I have to say.
Thank you, Travis.
So.
This has been beautiful. Thank you all so much for your sharing. And I will bring this to a close with a poem called Gone From My Sight. Then I'll say a couple of words, and then we're going to sing Amazing Grace, 3 verses, if you can find that on your phone, the words. I am standing upon the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the moving breeze and starts for the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength. I stand and watch her until at length she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone at my side says, "There, she's gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast, hull, and spar as she was when she left my side. And she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at the moment when someone says, "There, she's gone," there are other eyes watching her coming and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, "Here she comes!" And that is dying. When we're hurting and lost in despair, it's hard for us to see the bigger picture. That life is cyclical. Night is followed by day. Winter gives way to spring. That whenever there is an ending, there is something new about to be born. Just as the poem I read spoke of, with every goodbye, there is a hello. This is the light of hope shining in the darkness. Tonight we have been brought here by tragedy, but in the process of our communal grieving and sharing, new relationships have been forged. Love has been expressed in so many ways by so many people, and hearts have been opened. We are changed. Something new has taken root in each of our hearts tonight. And what grows depends upon what we choose to nourish, hope or despair. Kennan's death need not be in vain. Instead, this experience of losing him can be the beginning of something new. Perhaps a choice to live more from the heart, to see ourselves and our neighbor with greater understanding and compassion, and to choose to live in hope. Such choices, in even small ways, can change the world. Kennan did, and Kennan would want this. Now we will join together and 3 verses of Amazing Grace. You've got it on your phones.